No, it's on.
My mic's off. Dang it, sorry. Okay.
Oh, there. Are you starting
Mr.
again?
Ling, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Minutes. I need a motion to approve July 10th, 2023.
I'll move we approve the minutes from our board meeting of July 10th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. We have a correction to make sure we have the right person that wasn't at the meeting, dismiss the meeting. Mr. Watkins was not at the meeting. We got that correction in there.
We got it corrected?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Mr. Boyle?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Madam President?
Aye.
Metcalf is yes, or aye. Mr. Covington?
Aye. Am I on? No. I'll put that on for aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Abstain.
Okay, who do we have online?
McAfee.
Ms. McAfee?
I lost my pen somewhere.
I abstain.
Motion carries.
Okay. Number 4, call to the public. Do we have anybody?
Madam President, members of the governing board, I don't believe we do. And just as a reminder, in order to talk, you have to make sure the microphone is on so that we can capture the recording. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, moving to number 5, consent agenda. We have the whole entire alphabet, I think.
And they started over.
No.
No, they
A to
didn't.
Z.
All of them.
A to Z.
A to Z.
Didn't have double A's.
Yes, I am. Can I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda A through Z.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
You have a second down here. Talk.
Oh, is it not on?
Yeah, you're on. Nope.
No discussion? All right. I will call for.
There you go. You're on.
I did
Uh,
make a second.
Dr. Metcalf, please call for.
Mr. Boyle?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Boggs?
Aye.
Metcalf is an aye. Mr. Covington?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Ms. McAfee?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Number 6, personnel. Dr. Wilson, you are up.
Madam President, members of the governing board, there's nothing new or out of the regular in the personnel. I think you'll see in some of the situations, we've had several staff members since the school year has started have resigned. That's always a really difficult situation for us to be in. I think there are a number of different variables that go into that. I think one of the variables that goes into that is that I think sometimes being a quality educator, unless you are an educator, you don't realize how difficult that job can be. And so in some situations, I think we've had individuals who joined our family and didn't really realize how difficult the task is. And I think that attributes to some of the rationale and reason that folks exit. I also think that as an organization too, we always have to make sure that we're creating the best environment for individuals to want to be here and to be successful. And I think this year with our new teacher induction, we took steps in the right direction to make that time beneficial to them, not only getting them acclimated to being an educator, but at the same time getting them acclimated to be part of the EVIT family. But I think certainly there's room to improve there. And so the gratefulness of it is in some cases, having individuals make the decision early on is helpful because it allows us to find a replacement and not have classes without instructors. At the same time, sometimes I wish folks, if they just gave it a bit of time, could kind of navigate through it. So there isn't anything out of the normal other than we did have several staff members exit since the start of the school year, and that's at least several of the reasons why.
think it takes about 3 years, right?
At least.
That's from what I remember. Okay, B, new hire of instructional staff.
You have to have a
Oh,
vote.
is that,
We can combine them.
yeah, do we want to combine number 6 after we talk, or do you want to, we can vote personnel, we can call. Okay. I need a motion to do that then.
I'll move that we combine items 6A and B to one motion and vote.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All right, let's call for the vote.
Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Ms. Boggs,
Aye.
Metcalf is an aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay, now we will move on to 6B.
7.
Oh,
7A.
7A. Oh, we just approved all that. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
7A, GMP 6 contract for building 3 and 11. Dr. Wilson.
Madam President, members of the governing board, we've come to you a number of times over the past several years with our construction projects, whether it's the expansion out at the Power Campus and then most recently the renovation and improvements, life cycle analysis of the main campus. As a reminder, we have already completed the Heritage Academy, the Bistro, 6, 7, and 9. And in front of you tonight is the GMP for the renovation of buildings 3 and 11. 3 is the district office and 11 is the fire facility. As a reminder, you've already partially approved some of that renovation in the procurement that allowed us to do procurement of the fan coils, which we know has a really long lead time. So I believe it was 2 meetings ago, you approved the first portion of the GMP for the fan coils so we could get those ordered. This is now the culmination of the conclusion of the GMP for buildings 3 and 11. And we're very grateful that we have a partnership with Chase Construction and SPS Plus that are here tonight to kind of walk through some of the items and to answer any questions that you might have. So I don't know who's going to start us off first, but.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Wilson, first of all.
Is your mic on?
Check. Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Wilson, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight and bring forth this next GMP 6, which, as mentioned, is the renovations for building 3 and 11. So as previously discussed, last board meeting on June 10th, we had our early procurement GMP, which was the procurement of long lead item materials such as fan coil units, the solid cord wood doors, and the steel. Now, it was crucial that we ordered these at the forefront of the project in order to receive these now in time to install them and turn over the buildings on a required turnover date. In addition to that, there was also some demolition released in that early GMP. So over the last 2.5 weeks, we've been actually in these buildings, not only fast tracking the schedule, but uncovering a lot of unforeseen conditions and mitigating that risk of things we may run into at the forefront of the project. So now today we have our GMP 6. Is there any way we can get it up on the screen or, oh, we don't, okay. So GMP 6 basically tonight is the remaining costs for the project. So that includes all of the install of those long lead item materials that I just discussed, as well as the remaining scope. So miscellaneous finishes, structural, electrical, plumbing, whatever it may be to encompass that full scope of the remodel and beautification of these buildings. Also included in that is our general conditions. So we're happy to say we have the same project management team, superintendent team out in the field that really is a strong cadence and rhythm out there on this project and really understands the unique requirements of working on the EVIT campus and this project. A lot of our trade partners have also worked on these past projects, so they ought to understand the unique requirements of the job. That's really the GMP 6 for tonight. If you have any specific questions, I'd love to hear them and field them.
What is the completion date?
Completion date is end of March 2024. For building 3, for building 11, building 3, we should be wrapping up by the end of the year to be open for the start of the spring semester. Building 11 just has a little bit more structural components, so a building addition, a new mezzanine, and things that'll just generally take a while for our construction activities.
I have a couple questions.
Okay. Mr. Lane has a couple of questions.
I just want to clarify the dollar amount that we're voting for today. That would be 648, 614.
No, so the dollar amount voted for today is that last column in the total GMP 6. So that's 5,706,594. That first column is just there for reference. So that 799,000 is what was released in that early GMP 5.
That doesn't add
Could you
up.
read that number again, please?
That's not correct. That couldn't be correct.
The five
So I
million.
think the bottom number is the running total. So today we're approving, according to my interpretation, we're approving 648,614.
That number sounds correct, yes. Sorry, I've got the old file here.
Yeah, a few million here, a few million there. Turns into serious money before long.
My apologies.
Okay, I have one more.
Yeah. If we could just hold for a second, because I want to
Okay.
make sure that we're being correct in what we're
Yeah.
approving.
Yeah,
And the GMP 3, building 6 for building 3 and building 11 is significantly more than $700,000. And so I don't,
that's not how this sheet reflects though.
Because we have a total GMP less life cycle costs of $5,057,979.
But I think that's a running total.
That's a running total?
Yeah,
Okay. That's
So-
not the out the door cost. Okay.
no.
checking my comprehension if this is right. So building 3's GMP is 2.2, can't even see it, 30. Out of that amount, 289,000, I can't see it, I'm sorry, is the life cycle analysis, which we would have been doing independent of the construction. And then the remaining amount is the actual renovation, but the total amount of 2.23 million is what is for building number
Okay,
3.
So we're voting the column for building 3, column for building 11, and the column
Okay,
for GMP 6.
So if I'm,
And that comes out to 6.5 million roughly, 7 million. So that would throw this other, well,
no, I believe it, the 3
that
million,
doesn't make her, I don't know,
I don't see
yeah.
whatever these three. So 2.2, 3.5,
3.476 million.
5.8,
5.7.
5.7.
They added
And
the two
then-
columns.
593.
So the total procurement for the project is 5.7.
Okay.
Out of that 648,000-ish is the life cycle analysis, and the actual renovations and improvement for the remodel is 5 point, I can't see it, 057.
057.
Okay.
But the total aggregate on the top of 5.706 is the amount for the GMP 6 for the building 3, building 11, which does also include the life cycle analysis dollars.
Okay,
So we're approving the
and
5,000.
so this whole page, we're actually voting all the numbers here, because even the early procurement, I think is that included in these totals?
The early procurement's not including that total.
So that's the blue column.
So the
is
total
not
amount
in this, what we're voting today.
voting today is that 5,706,000 number.
Okay,
Which is the gray columns of building.
The gray column to the far right. And then below that in green just references the amount of
So
dollars
what are
that came
the-
out of life cycle.
the 2.3 and the 3.4 mil under building 3 and building 11, is that part of that 5.7?
Correct. So 5.7 is the total of building 3 and building 11. Those are just the breakout costs on the individual buildings.
Interesting, okay. So to be clear, that's what we're voting for funding is 5.706, 593.
That's correct.
So is this correct for me to say that on building 3, the renovation is 1.941, the life cycle analysis is 288, but which makes the GMP for building 3 2.230 or whatever that number is.
Yep.
And then that same is for building 11, which gives the aggregate for the GMP 6, which shows the amount of just pure renovation, pure life cycle analysis, but the total is captured at 5.7.
That's correct.
All right, I just had another point I wanted to clarify too on the building 3. What was the final consensus on the dais for this
So-
board with the
Yeah, it's a great question. We spent an enormous amount of time with that. And-
Sorry about that. It's the details that
No,
kill
it's
you.
the details that matter. And what we ultimately came up with is to give you the lip that you are needing, but to actually have the lip not present itself as so large in comparison to the audience sitting there. So you'll still have the space that you're needing, but it won't present itself as being that big to the audience.
You're
So
gonna slope the table down, so
No,
if we drop our
it's-
pin, we gotta go
yeah,
looking for it.
so seriously, what we're going to wind up doing is that we're going to shave a little bit off the top, but then we're actually going to, I believe, move,
Drop the table.
yeah, move the
counter that you sit at is not going to be quite as deep because it's actually deeper.
It is,
correct.
yeah.
And in doing that, then that gives you the flexibility of still having the space that you needed, while also making it easier for you to see down at those of us that are sitting below.
Okay, so you're gonna be at floor level, or you're gonna raise a little 6 or 8 inches on a platform for the side?
Put it on the platform.
So the challenge with that, and correct me, Don, if I say this wrong, the challenge with that is that if we do that on, I want to say the south side,
Yeah,
that the
south
platform that gets raised then puts us in a spot that is problematic for IDEA. ADA.
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 Yeah,
And so that would then require much more significant
well,
renovation.
you'd have to have a ramp or something.
And we didn't want that project to go into that. And so we're going to wind up
That's
potentially having,
reasonable.
yeah, pretty larger, potentially higher stools or something to try to accommodate some of that. But by bringing that down a titch, I think we're going to be able to accomplish what we were hoping to and still give you all the space that you were wanting as well.
Awesome. That's all the questions I have.
I have a question. It says here the materials and testing, the special inspections by owner. You're the owner, we're the owner. Who's the specific person doing that?
So below that, you'll see the Jensen Hughes fees allowance. They'll be
Yeah.
handling all of the life safety inspections on this project.
Those two
Correct.
are the ones.
So 11,500 in building 3 and then 15,000 in building 11
Jensen
for a total of 26,500.
permit fees, okay.
Other questions? I got my math on tonight.
I don't even know, did we have a motion? We did not call for a motion. Okay, I am, and is there a motion to approve the GMP 6 contract?
Also move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All right, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Ms. Boggs,
Aye.
Metcalf is aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, moving to letter B, approval of certain staff members as qualified evaluators.
Madam President,
Dr.
members of the
Wilson.
governing board, each and every year we have to come to you and ask for approval for individuals to do the evaluations of our faculty and staff. Some of the individuals that you see there, you've seen before, but we do have new directors in the organization that you have to approve. You'll also see that myself, Dr. Doolin, Dr. Fremer are part of the group that we're asking you to approve. That is for a couple of reasons. One, as we've said before, Dr. Doolin is partly responsible for the culinary program. I am responsible for the cosmetology program. I'm responsible for the culinary program. So we'll actually be doing the evaluations of those staff members. But in case there's an issue that occurs within the organization, we oftentimes need other individuals that are approved by you to do the evaluation. Fortunately, I neglected to include an individual in here that I will bring back next time. As I was putting the agenda together, it wasn't intentional. I neglected to put Ms. French here, and I know that we can't amend the agenda because the agenda was adopted and approved by you. So I will bring her back next time. I wish she would have been here tonight. I wish I would have got her on the agenda tonight. But that's what those are for. So those individuals have the authorization by you to do the evaluation of our faculty and staff.
Just a question. All of the individuals listed here have taken the ASA qualified evaluator training.
So if they haven't, we've scheduled them for them too. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's been the practice that we always have them go through the
Yeah.
level 1, level 2
Right.
qualified evaluator training. And part of what we're doing with them as well is doing a lot of iterator reliability on the rubricing so that there's some consistency in that evaluation. We were fortunate, I think, this year to take a much more proactive approach to the evaluation. And I think that historically what the organization has done is put a lot of things in it that sound really good in education to educators, but don't necessarily move the needle the way that they need to, and it winds up becoming a stumbling block. So we remove some of those areas, some of those criteria out of the evaluation, as well as sending them to the level 1, level 2, and then doing a lot of iterative reliability amongst the evaluators.
Okay, and are we going to keep those certificates of completion for the level 1 and level 2 qualified evaluator trainings
Yeah,
in their files?
And in their file, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure because there've been questions in other organizations that I've worked at, and I just want to make sure that there are no questions.
Correct.
Okay,
Fair.
thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve staff members as qualified evaluators. Anyone?
I'll move that we approve the qualified evaluators list as presented.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
Is there any more discussion?
Oh, Charles?
Oh, Mr. Hobson.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Hobson. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, well, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
All right,
Ms. Boggs,
Aye.
Metcalf is an aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
Mr. Hobson.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Welcome,
Okay.
Mr. Hodge.
Was
Yes.
that a high or an aye?
Letter C, update LEA profile for EVIT Eastmark.
Madam President, members of the governing board, there was a statute passed, I believe, 2 sessions ago that allows 9th grade students to get funded, assuming that they are in a program in 11th grade that is on the high demand workforce need list. In order to do that, it's a retroactive funding, which means that retroactively 9th graders can get funded as long as they're continuing in a in-demand job career program. What that does then is it requires us to adjust the CTDS number, because the CTDS number carries with it the class that the calculation of who's eligible for funding. And so what this is doing is just us responding to the requirement created by statute that allows us to be the pass-through dollars for our satellite programs.
Dr. Wilson, do you see that more districts coming forward asking for that?
I do. I do. Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, yes, I do.
Is there a stipulation of the deadline?
I don't know that there is a stipulation of the deadline, to be honest. I mean, I
How
can
far
find out
back
for
is
you.
it retroactive? Two school years or one?
So it started 2. So I think this year's junior class is the first class that's eligible to receive the retroactive funding from 9th grade.
So if they took a program in 9th grade that traditionally hasn't been funded, when they get to 11th grade, what do they have to do to qualify for that back funding?
Yeah, my understanding is what they have to do is they have to be enrolled in 11th grade in an in-demand workforce program. So
Do we have a list?
I believe it's the list that's provided by ADE. Yes. Now I'll have to check that. I believe it is the workforce list that they have to be enrolled in order to get the 9th grade funding. Yes.
So they need to be enrolled in like a 3-year program then at the satellite or?
So no, I mean, so for example, at the satellite level, if in 9th grade they took a culinary course, which is not in the in-demand workforce, but as in a 12th grader, they were taking, or as an 11th grader, they were taking a welding course. Then that welding course would qualify them for funding in 9th grade. So it's a retroactive funding.
Even though it's not in the same
Correct.
curriculum?
Now, a student that took 9th grade welding or auto 1, 10th grade auto 2, and 11th grade auto 3, if auto is in the in-demand workforce, then they would get retroactively funded for 9th grade as well as 10th and 11th, which they currently.
Is that going to apply going forward?
You mean in 12th grade too?
No. I mean,
Each year, yes. As the statute's written each year, yes. So that was the semi-solution to the 9th grade funding. The idea that to fund students as long as they're persisting into programs that especially the in-demand workforce list programs or the in-demand workforce list
I can
programs.
see they can get some, but that looks like it's gonna have to jump through a lot of hoops to qualify that.
I think yes, I think.
It's gonna be on the satellites.
I think the challenge
Back
with
to
it is
do
the
that.
tracking of it. And
Yeah.
if this is one of the conversations that have occurred. So if a ninth grade student goes to satellite campus A, and he or she decides by the time they're juniors that they've moved to the other side of the valley and now are enrolled in a different CTED, does this ninth, and that student as a junior enrolls in a satellite program in the West Valley that qualifies for funding, in theory, the school that had that student as a ninth grade should get funded, but that student doesn't reside within the district or within the attendance. So how does that track? How does that funding get
Plus,
tracked?
they're not gonna know what they're doing going forward anyway.
So I think I think there are some real logistical challenges for the funding, tracking of the funding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing that this is for Eastmark, Cactus Shadow, and East Apache Junction.
So we could combine all
Yeah,
those
do we want to
probably.
combine those? All right, I just need a motion.
Make a motion to combine C, D, and E. There's one motion to approve the LEA
Seven
profile.
C, seven CD.
Yes, 7 CDE.
Seven, which
Is
one?
there a second?
Yes, 7 CD. E.
I second.
Any more discussion? All right, let's go ahead and call for a vote, Dr.
Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Ms. Boggs,
Aye.
Metcalf is an aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
Mr. Hobson,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay, 8, executive session. I guess we need to have a motion to move into executive session.
I make a motion that the governing board move to executive session for items under 8 on the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Do you want to call for a vote?
Call for a vote. Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Ms. Boggs,
Aye.
Ms. Metcalf is an aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
and Mr. Hobson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Madam President, members of the governing board, we have two choices. We have a classroom Yes, ma'am.
Clicking that. Okay. Action item. I need a motion. We're gonna do this all in one, right? Separately?
I think
Separately? Okay. Action item. Legal action.
I'm going to move on item 9A, and motion is direct the board's attorney to proceed instructed in executive session regarding, one, a claim made by Justin Hines, and two, the claim made by Cale Ballinger, and three, anonymous complaints.
Okay, is there
I
a second?
second.
All right, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Boyd,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Boggs,
Aye.
Metcalf is aye. Covington,
Aye.
Watkins,
Aye.
McAfee,
Aye.
and Hobson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, action item B, possible legal action regarding open meeting law complaint. I just need a motion.
I make a motion that action item 9B, possible legal action regarding open meeting law complaint.
That's not
What?
enough.
Make a motion for that to, yeah,
Legal.
The legal
the legal
Legal
services
services.
to follow, yes.
As
As directed in
Directed.
executive session.
As directed.
I was watching my words there.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Boyle? Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Ms. Boggs?
Aye.
Metcalf is aye. Covington?
Aye.
Watkins?
Aye.
McAfee?
Aye.
Hobson?
Aye.
9B carries.
Action item 9C, possible legal action regarding J.O. Combs.
I'll make a motion against J.O. Combs that we advise our attorney to do as directed in the meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Boyle?
Aye.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Mr. Ms. Boggs? Sorry, Ms. Boggs.
Aye.
Metcalf is aye. Mr. Covington?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Ms. McAfee?
Aye.
Mr. Hobson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Action item 9D, transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Schools. Is there a motion? For D.
I make a motion that action item 9D, transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Public Schools be carried out as directed in executive session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was not a
Yeah.
executive
Directed by
session
me.
That's
topic.
just a,
That wasn't a direct.
correct. That's just an action item
That was-
separate.
That's just an action item.
Correct.
They
Okay.
submitted a waiver and you just need to vote on the waiver.
Oh, okay. All right. So
It's an
we
action item.
change that by action item 9D, transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Public Schools. Just need a motion.
I make a motion that action item 9D, transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Public Schools be voted upon.
Is there a
It's,
second?
it's
I
actually
think you
nine
need an
C.
action. I think you need a recommendation for action.
I think we need to,
As directed
Typically,
by-
I'm going to be quiet.
The vote will do the direction.
I think the motion is
Well,
to.
the
add-
motion was to have a
Motion.
vote.
Yeah.
You need to make a motion that says you're either going to approve it or not approve it.
Shall I
So-
redeem myself? All right.
Can't we just move to declare them in breach and direct council to proceed, initiate the meeting process?
That's not the action item. The action item is whether to approve or not approve the
Approving the
transportation waiver.
Ah, gotcha.
Just say approve.
Approved.
So can we have it in a motion?
Make a motion. Action item D, transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Public Schools to approve.
Is there a second?
So a no vote would be not to approve it, right?
Correct.
Not approve it. Okay. 9, action item D, a transportation waiver request from J.O. Combs Public Schools to not approve the waiver.
Second that.
Can I clarify? A yes vote on this means we do not approve the waiver?
Correct.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, okay.
All right. Call for a vote.
Mr. Boyle,
Aye.
Mr. Lane,
Aye.
Ms. Boggs.
Aye.
Metcalf is aye. Mr. Covington,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Ms. McAfee,
Aye.
Mr. Hobson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 10, staff report, superintendent's review of current events.
Madam President, members of the governing board, just a couple quick things tonight. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the faculty and staff at EVIT. Starting the school year is never an easy task, and for those of you who have ever been a part of that, it is always exciting, but at times can be extremely overwhelming. And we've had individuals throughout the whole of the system lean in ways that always impress me to give our students and our families the opportunity that they deserve. This is our 4th week, so we're in our 4th week. We're, I think, about halfway through the first quarter, I think. But we've had staff on campus now with new teachers and returning teachers for well over almost 6 weeks. Our enrollment is up, which is exciting. Last we checked, we were up, I want to say, about 1,000 students, which represents roughly 18 to 20% year over year growth, which is really exciting. Thank you to our sending districts and our charter schools and partnering districts for the work that they've done to help us continue to grow. Also, though, with growth becomes challenges. As you've heard a number of times, staffing can always be difficult for us. And when you're expecting to have enrollment be a certain amount, you have 1,000 more students show up, that staffing can even be more problematic. But we're very grateful for the opportunity. If you have an opportunity and want to come take a look, please reach out to Tammy and we'd be happy to give you a tour so you can see what's happening on our campus on a daily basis. But without that, that's all I got. Thank you.
Right. Okay, 11, closing items, calendar. Dr. Wilson?
None for me.
Anybody? Anything anybody wants on that?
When is the next board meeting? I'm trying to.
The next board meeting is
August 28th.
28th.
August 28th.
Okay.
Dr. Wilson, may I say one thing real quick? I should have commented. I'm finally an EVIT parent. My daughter is enrolled, and it's really been seamless. And seeing EVIT from the point of a parent has been a joy as compared to my other experiences with my children. So, to thank the staff and everyone involved at EVIT from a parent viewpoint, it's impressive, and she's very happy.
Oh,
So, and I know as a parent, I don't think a lot about my kids in their school. So, thank you to everyone at EVIT. It's been really great.
11, closing adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Give a second. Do you want to call for a vote? Or?
Do we want to call this individually or just as collectively?
I think collectively.
All those in favor of adjourning, say
Aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you.
Meeting's adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Mhm.